Welcome to Mark My Words, a show that searches for the fork in the road in life, the place where the turning point in the journey of entrepreneurship and life can be found. Let's meet each other at the crossroads on Mark My Words. So I picked the right day. I don't know what is going on in the universe that I wound up having Dr. Salas, the mind clearing doctor, on my show. He specializes in a lot of things that help people, but one of the things he specializes in are limiting beliefs. And there is no better time to challenge limiting beliefs than to be put in a situation where it is time to record a podcast and you don't want to waste your guest time or your own time. You don't want to have to reschedule. There is currently a Zoom outage. I usually do all of my episodes on Zoom, and I could not get into it, and neither could Dr. Salas. And I'm like, okay, what in the hell do I do? And I decided to use StreamYard. I usually go live on StreamYard, and I have not transitioned into using Zoom yet, or what is this, StreamYard yet, but I have a feeling that today is going to be the impromptu spur of the moment transition or test into this. I don't know. If I get rid of Zoom, I'll save a few bucks a month. But enough about me and this debacle. We got an episode to do, and we have I have a really great guest. I was watching his content on YouTube and preparing diligently like I always do. And Dr. Salas has one heck of a story, and he's been through a lot. I know I've been through a lot. I have every reason to have limiting beliefs, and I know what it's like to go through life with baggage and to be, trying to make sense of the baggage and, just trying to overcome all that. So I think for me, Dr. Salas is a really great guest for this show, for this episode, for this show. You can tell I'm a little bit flustered by the situation. So maybe Dr. Salas can help me even with that on the spot. But I'm going to stop the introduction here. We're going to settle it, take it slow, as Dr. Salas was saying before I hit record. Welcome to I can't even introduce myself. I'm all jacked up here. Welcome to Mark My Words, Dr. Salas. You're the mind clearing doctor. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mark, and let's go with the flow. That's going to be fun. Now we are in a different platform. I'm sure that's what you needed in order to make the switch, right?
Maybe, I'm not very good at making change. Like I'm very open minded
I
in
see.
life, but when it comes to especially like business decisions, like I just recently joined a podcast network, and it took me 5 years of doing this show to do that. So I'm very cautious in what I do. And I guess sometimes the universe just has to say, get off your butt and make a change. Take action.
Take action, go with the flow, and make it fun. It doesn't have to be stressful.
Right. Well, I certainly tried to make this fun, and it, there's nothing like a situation like this to get the adrenaline up a little bit more because I'm very organized and I like to
I
have
see.
everything all set. And as I said, and I usually just am really diligent in preparing. I like to know what I'm getting into. I like to know kind of roughly how it's gonna go. And yeah, that you can just throw all that in the garbage. But we're gonna get on track here, and yeah, let's kind of jump into it. I mean,
Let's do
I'll
this.
I'll start by talking to you about your kind of like your story YouTube video where you told the story. I don't even know. It's a very sad story, but you talked about how your dad's story impacted you and influenced you. And tell me a bit about just growing up and how that story influenced you and impacted you to live your American dream.
Yeah, there's you know what, Mark? You make me realize I've got so many stories. I remember when I remarried, I told my wife, I said, I will guarantee you something. You're not gonna get bored with me. And sure enough, because I just realized there's so many. Yeah, I think I had 3 or 4 lives. I mean, it feels that way, which is good. It's not but so much transformation in my life, which is a blessing, right? So, my dad was very negative person, right? And so he was very controlling and all that. And so, of course, when you are so negative, it not only he affect the man, but he affect mostly yourself because all your cell become negative, right? So, of course, he got sick. He was like 40 years old. He got on disability and never went back. And he went into that loop that I call the victim mode, right? In a way, which is basically people will call him, "Oh, Jean, how you doing?" Right? And so, but they will call him to see how his disease was doing. And after subconsciously, and we're going to talk about that, right? He created that belief that, oh, if I got sick, no, if I stay sick, people will call me and love me. And after you caught up in that subconscious loop that you don't realize, you're not aware of, it's in your subconscious mind. And so basically, of course, he never got out of that loop, right? So it basically showed me what not to do, right? Or what not to be, and how to be different. So it's funny in a way because my sister, guess what? She's always sick. Now she's working part time, so she took the path of my dad, and I took the opposite, right? To be more open minded, to be like very positive. And I guess, I've been blessed with a nature like that, right? That I can go with the flow and be adaptable and with a good sense of humor, right? Because I think a good sense of humor, you can go through, if you can laugh at yourself, life is so much lighter, right? And so that's really what happened and with my dad.
So, as I listen to you talk, I can't help. So, it's amazing to me doing this show. I can always find like a common ground with my guests, and I don't necessarily want to sit here and start calling out people in my family, but there was somebody in my family who, when you just talked about your dad and just the idea of like being sick and everybody coming to them in order to get that love that they needed, it definitely makes me think of somebody very close to me in my family growing up. They weren't necessarily like physically sick, but definitely like a lot of baggage. I mean, I and my siblings were born with a lot of issues, like a pretty rare syndrome, cleft lip and palate, a few other
I
things
say,
go into it. And it was a lot for, I guess I'm narrowing it down anyway. It was certainly one of my parents. I'm not very good at this, being discreet, but yeah, it really affected. Well, I mean, it affected all of us, but when you talk about your dad, I think about one of my parents and how it affected them, and it affected me because much like you said, your experience taught you how you want to be different. It also taught me how I want to be different because I don't necessarily want to sit and feel sorry for myself and be fishing for all that love.
exactly.
I want to live my life to the fullest, and I want to get past a lot of like limiting beliefs and baggage and all the other things that I've had to like deal with and live with and overcome. And it's a big reason why I'm here doing this show now.
Yes, and that's so true because I treat like very sick people, chronically sick people, like chronic pain and stress. And one of the hardest things is to get out of that mental loop of victim mode, right? And we're not victim, we are creators. We are born that way, right? And after the limiting belief that we're going to talk about get in the way, there's so much to say about.
Right. And I even looked up to see if there was a definition for limiting beliefs, and there's an AI definition. It's not an official
Mm.
one, but I think it'll work for this purpose. I find it to be true. It says, according to AI overview, whatever uh, stock you want to put in this, thought patterns or convictions we hold to be true that prevent us from pursuing opportunities or achieving goals. And yeah, I feel like I
Well,
spend yes, go ahead.
that's only a tiny part of it.
Yeah.
I've got three programs. One is the basic mind clearing. The second one is the body clearing, which is about getting rid of pain, symptom, and inflammation in your body. And the other one, it's about the goal and success clearing. So that will success clearing. But what are limiting beliefs? Limiting beliefs are basically negative programming, right? That are stored in your subconscious mind. So let me elaborate a little bit because maybe some people have never heard about limiting belief, right? They just don't know what it is. So what is important to know, basically, it's like, you know, what is your mind, right? Because we just talk about like we talk about stress, like we talk about mind, and sometimes we don't really know what it is, right? It become familiar in the language, but truly, what is the mind? So I'm gonna tell your audience few things out of the blue. It's not something that is like, wow, where did you find? Did you have a secret book or something like that? No, it's done by research. It's scientific and all that. So the first things, it's kind of like we're living in two separate worlds in the same time. So what do I mean by that, Mark? Well, we've got what we call the outer world, right? And the outer world, it's what we call our self-identity, right? When I call you Mark, that's your self-identity, your personality, what you are aware of, how you perceive your reality, right? Meanings, your thoughts, right? You're aware of your thought, your emotion, your behavior and your action. What do you think you can do in life? What do you think you cannot do in life? So that's your conscious mind. And after Mark, we've got a secret, a hidden, a mysterious mind, and we call that the subconscious mind. And this subconscious mind, Mark, record everything you have been doing in your life from age 0 to now. Also, all your skill as a man, as a podcaster, whatever you do in life that requires skills are stored in your subconscious mind. Also, all the automatic process in your body, we call that the autonomic nervous system, right? All the things that happen in your body that you don't have to think about, like your breathing, like your heartbeat, are coming from your subconscious mind. So I got very intrigued about that mysterious mind, right? And so I went and started to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig and more. And what I found out is mind blowing, literally. So the first things that I want to say, it's like your conscious mind, which is who you think you are, process data at 11 bits per second. Your subconscious mind, which is, you're not truly aware of what's going on, process data at 11 million bits per second. So I thought to myself, wow, this is so much more powerful. So I got more intrigued, right? And what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell your audience, if some people are standing up, please sit down. If some people are sit down and they can buckle up, please do it. Because what I'm going to tell you is going to make you rethink of truly who you are. right, is going to make you change totally what you think about yourself. So here it is. Your conscious mind, it's only 5 or 10% of your mind, depends who you're reading. Meaning that the subconscious mind, right, is 90 to 95% of your mind, right? And yet, when we want to heal, transform ourselves and grow, what we think, what we focus on, only on our conscious mind. Meanings that we use only 5 or 10% of our mind power, and 90 to 95% of mind power, we cannot use it. So you know what I thought, Mark? I said, hey, why don't we bring the subconscious mind to the party? That would be nice, right? And so what happened, what you have to know also, and after I let you, what you have to know is like your subconscious mind is programmable. Your mind is, we all have programs. Everybody on earth right now, raise your hand, you've got a program, right? So it happened mainly when we are from age 0 to 7 years old, because we are very malleable. We've got different, brave, we call that delta brave if you want, and things like that, with almost like hypnotic, right? So what we see on the outside world, we think it's true, we think it's all good, right? We think it's normal. And so we assume things. And if you assume the same thing long enough, it becomes a program in the subconscious mind. So we've got two programs, Mark. We've got programs that are serving us, that are good for us. It's kind of like your mind is working for you and not against you. And so we call that empowering belief. Empowering belief. And after we've got other programs that are not serving us any longer. And it's kind of like your mind is working against you instead of working for you, right? And we call that limiting belief. And those limiting beliefs, they are acquired from our past. It's like unresolved challenges that we had in our life, unresolved trauma that we had in our life. So it's kind of our past is controlling us and dictating our present and molding our future. That's how important it is.
So I never thought about the division between conscious mind and subconscious mind. And hopefully, I'm not at risk of diverting off track here. And it, it got me to thinking about something that I think about a lot, which is intuition. I feel like I
Yes.
have a very strong intuition. I like to listen to my gut and my intuition. It doesn't often steer me in the wrong direction. And I'm curious to get your take on where intuition plays a part. Does that get lumped into like subconscious mind somehow? Uh, I'll let you, the doctor, uh, tell me what you think.
Yes, Mark. So our mind, our subconscious mind, should I say, communicate with us mainly via two things: dreams, right? And dreams, what you remember of a dream is a picture, right? So that's why the subconscious mind works with pictures. That's why a picture is worth 1,000 words. Like, so you see what I mean? Why? Because there's the symbolism stored in the picture that you cannot even write it down, right? It's so much richer. That's why the subconscious mind can process 1 million faster. With picture, you can store so much data there, right? And so that's the dream. So the dream, also you can use your dream, since it's the wisdom of the subconscious mind, kind of, right? And there's book about dream interpretation with all the symbolism, like to understand what your subconscious mind is telling you, right? So that's number one. Number two, the intuition is the wisdom also of the subconscious mind. It's coming from areas that are not they are invisible, if you want, right? They are just coming, we think they are coming out of the blue, but this is very important to use. Now, this being said, when you make a decision, you think that there's a logical way that you make the decision, right? But I want to tell you, before that logical way, you've got the program. That program is going to make that decision first, because that subconscious mind runs so much faster than your conscious mind. And after, your conscious mind is going to justify right? The law justifies the decision. Really how it works. So that's very tricky because we don't realize that all those programs are running behind the scene, behind. I'm sorry, I speak French. Are running behind the scene, right, and are dictating our present and molding our future again. So it's our past that really shapes our future. Let me give you an example. Let's pretend there's a little girl to illustrate what I'm saying. Let's pretend there's a little girl that her dad is an alcoholic. He get drunk every night, come back home and beat up the mom. What do you think, Mark, that little girl's gonna attract as a romantic partner when she's at the age to have a romantic partner? What kind of romantic partner she's gonna attract?
Um, Probably the partner that is the most familiar to her that she can relate to.
Exactly. So she's gonna attract an abusive relationship, right? 80%, 90% of people will agree with us. But I want to point out two things. So that's a woman now. She's in that abusive relationship. And so if I ask her, by the way, do you enjoy to get beaten like your mom? So she's going to say, heck no. So the conscious mind is going to say no. But the subconscious mind has been programmed as what? Men are predators and women are prey. Now, who's in charge here? Who's in control? The subconscious mind, not the conscious mind, right? So we think we are all in control about the decision we're making and all that, but we are not. Okay, so that's one thing I want to point out. The second thing is how she's going to attract that man. Is she going to see a man and shake his hand and say, "Can you beat me up, please?" Of course, it's not going to happen that way, right? So it's kind of our subconscious mind are connected. Right? Remember, we're not aware of what's going on in that subconscious mind, right? So we are connected. And so her subconscious mind is going to say, look at this guy. He has been bullied. Now he's a bully. He's got the predator program. You're going to fall in love with him. And the subconscious mind of the guy say, oh, look, she's a prey. You know, she have seen, you know, the dad, you know, beat up the mom. So we're going to pair up. And they're going to, like you say in English, we're gonna tango together, right? They're gonna start that dance. They're gonna fall in love whose polarity gonna make them attract, and that's it. And so there's three different case scenario for that woman. She married the guy, gets stuck with him for the rest of her life, right? We all know or have heard of relationship like that, right? Case scenario number two. Well, she go with that guy and she get tired of get beat up. She get another guy. Maybe she had kids along the way. Who knows, right? But lots of suffering. And there's two kind of reaction what I've gathered from women talking to me. The most common one, they say, Dr. Salas, don't talk to me about men anymore. They're not good for me. I'm done, right? It's kind of like, you know, there's a fire. You put your finger in the fire, you get burned once. You get burned twice, you say, oh, that hurts. I'm done with touching the fire, right? So that's the most common thing. So at least they become aware, right? Because we can learn from our life experiences, right? We can learn the lesson, but it takes so much time and so much suffering, right? And when she will know she's truly healed when she's attract somebody that is totally the opposite. It means somebody that's kind to her, that respect her, that see her as an equal, right? That's how you know that she will be totally healed of that, right? So that's how powerful limiting belief are. Oh, case scenario number three, she can come to see me and we can change that program. We can delete the program, download a new program that she wants, and make sure that she can create that in her life. Does it make sense?
So, oh, it makes a ton of sense. And you're touching on a lot of things that I think about in my day to day life just because of all the obstacles and all the things that I've had to deal with. It's like that little bit of a struggle of I'm trying to be different from the things that I know just on my own accord, and I'm trying to be forward thinking and living in the present, living for today. I have a ton of stuff going on. I have goals. I have things I want to accomplish, but the past is always like there, whether I'm consciously thinking about it or not. There is a reason that I am doing a lot of the things that I'm doing, that I'm motivated to do, especially me. I don't know about a lot of other people, but I know for me personally, if I'm treated like, one of the more popular people in school, or I have a more normal social life and maybe a different type of upbringing, and maybe things are just different for me in general, and I feel differently about my life and my journey. Mark my words, might not even exist. I might not be doing what I do day to day as a career. I might not be doing any of this. I could be a completely different person. So I know one of the questions in your rundown is, are we stuck in the past? And for me personally, I would say, in a sense, even if you are a person like me who's really trying to live in the present and trying to have a different life despite some of the things that they learned of maybe themselves or of the world, that the past never really completely goes away. And I'm sure you're gonna have something awesome to say. So I'm gonna
Yes, I
let
do
you
have
say.
something. I don't know if it's going to be awesome, but I do have something to say. It's like a limiting belief. So it means that, again, it's unresolved challenges, right? And it can be also some, of course, trauma, right? They are coming from the past, and they are the one who are controlling us, right? Again, that's so important to see. Empowering belief, that's good. We are positive. Our mind is working for us. It's no problem. So let's compare, if you don't mind, let me compare the mind to a computer. So your hard drive will be your brain. Your software is your subconscious mind. The output of your software is your conscious mind. And your behavior is seen on the screen of life. So, meaning, if I've got a very good software, good quality software, like lots of empowering belief, Mark, you ask me, hey, Alan, how you doing? I say, well, man, life never better. It's great. I'm going on podcast. I know what is my mission in life. I need to spread, who's limiting belief and how we can heal people so much deeper with that. Never better, right? But if I've got instead lots of limiting belief, right? And so you're going to ask me, hey, Alan, how you doing? I say, oh, man, life is a struggle, right? I mean, nobody loves me. I feel alone. And when I try to do something, I always fail. And I don't know what to do. I'm so confused and all that. Right? And that's how it works. That's how powerful they are. So essential that even in the research, they know about that. They call that the placebo effect. So let me tell you about the placebo effect, right? Let's say I got involved, which I will never do, but I got involved, let's pretend, I got involved with a research study, right? And they said that, okay, if you've got heartburn, you're going to take that pill, right? You ingest the pill, you have no more heartburn, right? So, okay, I take the pill, I have no more heartburn. But you know what, Mark? They tell me, actually, you didn't get the pill, you get a sugar pill. So what does it mean? The belief that the pill will heal me, heal me. That's how powerful our beliefs are. And they denied and they kind of brush it out and say, oh, it's a placebo effect. We are the placebo. That's how true healing works. That's the deepest healing you can ever have because you use your mind to heal yourself. You see what I mean? And they've got something also that I want to touch on because it's called the nocebo effect. So what is the nocebo effect? It means I take the pill, okay, but they tell me, you know what, Dr. Salas, you take the pill, you may have a headache. I say, okay. So I take the pill, that's a sugar pill, and I experience the headache. So I experienced the negative side effect, right? The side effect of it, right? And so the nocebo effect show how we can get programmed from the outside by the media, by the fear that put on us, by sometimes our education, by so many different things, right? That can mold us and make us believe that we are only 5 or 10% our mind, for example, that we are only a self-identity. So what I want to say about that, let's zoom out and see really the big picture of what we're talking about, right? To see how powerful we truly are more. So visualize the sun. There's a big sun, right? And a spark of the sun, and the sun is like God, is the divine, whatever your belief is about it, right? And after the spark of the sun, create your spirit. And this is all what we call on non-duality. It means like there's no good or bad, there's no judgment. It's like some people will say it's pure love. Some people will say it's all there is and has ever been, right? And after we've got your sky, and after we've got the physical you and me, right? Some people, Mark, they've got so many clouds in the sky that they say, there's no sun. I never feel it. I never seen it, right? So what are those clouds? They are your limiting belief. So when you start to get rid of limiting beliefs, you take one after the other, now you can have a glimpse of the sun. Now you can start to feel the warmth of the sun. And you take more and more and more and more limiting belief out, and now you can connect more with your spirit. If you connect more with your spirit, you've got more empowering beliefs. So imagine a triangle like this. Inside the triangle, you're going to have empowering belief, right? On the top of a triangle, because you do have empowering belief, you're going to have positive thought. Because you do have a positive thought on the right base of a triangle, you're going to have supportive emotion. Because you do have supportive emotion on the left side of the base of a triangle, you're going to have desirable behavior and productive action. Now, if I want to give you an example on the opposite, let's pretend I've got a limiting belief. My dad told me I'm a loser. So my limiting belief at the center of a triangle is I'm a loser. So on the top, I'm gonna think I'm a loser. I'm gonna feel like a loser, and I'm gonna behave like a loser. So my outcome is gonna be a loser outcome, which gonna make me feel even more like a loser. I'm gonna think, boy, I knew I was a loser, but such a loser, that's crazy. And that's gonna reinforce what I call the subconscious stress loop. And we've got a ton of subconscious stress loop running behind the scene, and we have no idea.
So, I this is the first time I've ever heard of the nocebo effect, and
Yeah.
it correlates to limiting belief. This is really fascinating to me because as you were talking, I'm like, okay, I want to try to relate this to my life because I've I've had a lot of obstacles in my life, and I know that I have held myself back just because. So me having a cleft lip and palate right off the bat, when it comes to dating was like a huge obstacle for me because in my
Rejection.
mind, for years, and I mean, it's a huge obstacle whether you have, a cleft lip and palate or not, I guess. But for me, I, I can't help, I was digging around and I'm like, okay, I remember in 10th grade, and it was an issue really for me. I thought that I was just like, no, who is gonna want to date me? And that's probably 1,000% an example of the nocebo effect. But I remember in 10th grade, there was a girl that I knew for a couple years, and I kind of felt in my gut, in my intuition, that there was a connection. Granted, this has gone back to high school. This is like 30 years ago, but it's a good real life example of the nocebo effect. I kid you not, on my 16th birthday, sitting in the back of like our German class. Her and I and another friend were just sitting there working on stuff. And she was like, I like you. And my response to that was the absolute worst response. I was like, no, you don't. That was like, honest to God, my response. And that was just kind of like my attitude for years. Like, I really wrestled with that when it came to dating, and I finally got to a point in my life where the timing all worked out. I had at least sorted through some of that and met somebody that, like, I had to be like 1,000,000%. There's no such thing as that, but that's how high it went, where I just had to be absolutely no question convinced that, you know, the person was like really interested in me to really get through that and work through that even more. And for those who are looking for a real life example of what I believe Dr. Salas is talking about, uh, that right there, I believe, probably fits the bill.
Yeah, because it's literally in your face, right? And so
Yeah.
that's something you cannot hide, you know. But some limiting belief that we had, cannot, even though we cannot see them, can be as damaging, right? And so I understand, that of course there's a fear of rejection, right? And so that's the limiting belief that you had. Oh, everybody's going to reject. I mean, woman, right? Women rejected me, right, because of my face and all that. And so but always when we've got a challenge, it's always the same thing, right? Either you want to be a victim of it, which clearly you're not, right? Because like you said, now you're doing that podcast, you are using video, you're like, you're showing your face, right? You see what I mean? And so those challenge will develop other things, other qualities, right? And so you probably have to be more cerebral, right? Probably, to be more, to have more empathy towards other people, who's got challenges, or not, And so always it's kind of like when physically somebody is blind and we're going to develop the other sense going to get better, right? And so to just compensate, and that's the same thing with all the challenge, when we experience rejection, for example, or things like that, we develop more love for others, right? We do, or we don't. And again, or we just stay in anger constantly and reject other people, right? And so it's kind of a choice in a way, but what are triggering that, it's what all the energy that you have been around when, and it's nobody's fault. I want people to understand it's not your fault. We all have limiting belief. From 0 to 7 years old, you never asked for it, right? It's given by other person too, right? And the way you see as a kid how the people react to it, and after you say, oh yeah, so it has to be really bad, right? You see what I mean? And so it's nobody's fault, but that's how we develop them, and after they dictate our life, right? And so, but in a way also, they can. There's a positive, it's always like this. You see the glass half full or half empty, right? And so that can develop other things. But now the things and the matter with that mind clearing technology, we can go so much faster to get rid of all the unnecessary limitation that can such a trauma or unresolved challenge create into our life. Because when you've got a limiting belief, or when you clear limiting belief, for example, not only is going to help your health. Let's see, so you got neck pain, and I treat you for the neck pain. So I will typically ask you, okay, Mark, what you need to do, because your mind, your subconscious mind, was work with pictures. We need to speak the same language by your subconscious mind. So I want you, Mark, to visualize you yourself having neck pain, right? So you visualize that, and I'm going to tell you what program to use to delete it, and we're going to customize that program. and you're going to send it to you in that picture, right? So that's step number one. So we delete what you don't want, basically, right? And after I'm going to say, Mark, I want you to visualize totally the opposite of that picture, a picture that you love, the desired outcome, really the ideal outcome, right? So you're going to visualize that picture. And maybe for you, it's going to be having no neck pain and be on your computer, right? And just be so relaxed. So some of the people, it will be walking on the beach, with no neck pain. Some other people will be having yoga, right? My point is that is like the symbolism of what you think that you being healthy is associated with, what activity it is, what are you doing, right? And so guess what, we're going to download that picture into your conscious mind. That's going to be your empowering belief. So we don't need to know what is your limiting belief, because how do you want to use only 5 and 10% of your mind to crack 90 to 95% of your mind power? It's not going to happen. So we just replace it. And number three, what we want to do is just to make sure that, remember the screen of life? We want to make sure that you can show that in the screen of life that you have no neck pain and the neck pain is gone. Just to give you an idea how powerful it can be, 70 to 80% of the people after 2 visits, the neck pain is gone and will never come back because the program that created that is not there any longer.
That's amazing. And
Mhm.
I feel like what you do with your clients and patients, I think is a wonderful thing because not everybody is as lucky as me. So, as you were talking about just the fact that I've overcome and I'm doing a podcast and look at how far I've come, I often talk about how I got here. So, I conquered my demons with dating and all that. I have a wonderful wife now and everything else. But there was still a ton of baggage, and there probably, even with me coming this far, I'm sure there is some baggage still in there
We all
somewhere.
have,
We all.
all of us will. We will.
But so a big turning point in my life was going to an event called LinkedIn Local, where they had people speaking about making content on, this is going back 8 or 9 years when making your own content was still like a fairly new thing. And afterwards, just speaking to some of the people who spoke, and just talking about making content, they were like, you should try making content. And at the time, my reaction is very similar to the dating story, where I'm just like, who would want to listen to me, who would want to like watch me, like, who would want to do that? But I gave it a shot anyway because I appreciated the positive support. I guess people were seeing something in me that I didn't
Exactly.
see in myself at the time. And as time went on, I got a little bit of encouragement, not only on LinkedIn from posting all the content, but then people started coming up and saying, hey, you should think about like doing a podcast. Have you ever thought about that? And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I haven't, because the only belief that I have is that nobody's going to want to watch me or listen to me or any of that. Just living. And I just kind of needed that positive reinforcement. And eventually, I'm just a little crazy. I'm very open minded about things, and I'll give something a try once. I mean, I've come so far that I'm even on TikTok going live almost every day. So that just tells you, I mean, one thing led to another, and 5 years and over 100 episodes later, I'm still doing this show, and it has done a ton for me mentally. Like, I can tell mentally, spiritually, I'm a much different, much more confident person. And I wish that I would have met a Dr. Salas along the way, because I had to kind of go through a lot of ups and downs to figure just what I've figured out in life. So that's kind of, I know my audience has probably heard that story a billion times, but that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah, and so let's since we are talking about personal story, I don't know if you're gonna believe me, but I had fear of public speaking, and now it's all gone. I treated myself right. I mean, and now I'm like at ease. I'm like, I mean, that's come naturally. I can have my passion and my words. Do the talking and not even think about it and be super relaxed. Even drink some coffee with it. And so it's just amazing to me when it's you realize how bad it is when it's gone. When you are sick, for example, and you have pain, and you say, "Man," or even sometimes you got stress and you feel stress, and for example, I would give somebody a physical treatment. They say, "Oh man, I didn't realize that." Yes, we don't realize how bad it is. We realize how bad it is until it's gone. And that's why it's so tricky. And so that's why, doing some clearing the mind can be so liberating, for people. And because we can be ourselves, who are more connected, not only we are more connected to our spirit, but we can have more positive thought, supportive emotion and productive action, right? And so that's really a blessing. And I think, since I believe right now we are on a crossroad. And so either we go with more technology, with AI, what we have been sold, and just to merge with all that technology and things like that, which I think can be dangerous, because they can control us, right? Or we go and connect more to our spirit, right? And use some technique like that, because this technique I teach it for everybody. Let people, of course, if you're a coach and a health professional and you're really serious about really transforming, and healing, helping to heal your client, yes, of course you can learn that. But it's for everybody. That's not complicated. You don't have to have a PhD on health or relationship or prosperity, right? You don't. You just do a reprogramming, because you just guide the person. You are empowering your client or your patient to heal themselves. And when you are empowering somebody to heal themselves, for me, it's the holy grail of healing. There's nothing better than that, because finally they can engage a communication with their subconscious mind. They can use 100% of their mind power. Some people talk about supernatural power and things like that. It's there. It always has been. You were born with this. That's not supernatural. We just don't have access to it. Imagine you use only 5 or 10% of your mind.
Yeah, and it's so eye opening. I love the way that you kind of like separated it out, and that's one of the many reasons I love doing this show, because I'm gonna think about this conversation for the rest of my life. I'm never going to look at consciousness quite the same way anymore. And one thing that I do have to say, in just in the spirit of my story, your story, and what you do, and the mention of TikTok, I'm on there like every day, and I see. So this is me on the other side of some of the like situations and mindset that I've been in the past. I see these awesome, wonderful people on TikTok who are just like, yeah, I have a lot of anxiety about, speaking on camera or being live. And I was really nervous to go live and be a live creator. And there are even some people who are just flat out limiting themselves and not even trying. And then when they do finally decide to go on, I'm just like, oh man, like, why are they like holding themselves back? They're doing great. Like, they sound great. They're doing great. They don't always see just how good they are. And I can really relate to that, because I feel like I'm really just starting to open up my eyes to my potential and how good I am and can be. Hopefully, not too egotistic, but
No, it's not. It's like we are so much more powerful. We have been told. We have been told we are only 5 or 10%. Actually, the 5 or 10% is the ego. So we have been told we're only the ego, right? So No, you just had you get more connected to your spirit, meanings that you are not what you have been told. You are not only your self identity, you are a spirit living a physical experience. And that's truly who you are. When you awaken to that idea, life cannot be the same any longer. Because, we're talking a lot about AI right now, but AI only copy things. Now, what's about creating things, right? That's your spirit, right? That connection with your spirit, like your intuition comes from your spirit, your creativity, which, like, when I started to get that technique down, right? It just come. I call that my insight. It come out of the blue, and after what I was saying, Mark, I said, I'm going to explain that. I'm going to explain that to people, right? And 3 years later, look, I can explain it, and I think very simply, because things are simple, right? And with all my heart, because I know that can change so many lives, and why using the hard way, since there's the easy way and the fastest way to use that, and at the same time that can open you up to a totally new world, but you have no idea, because most of us, we were like this, right? Thinking that, oh, I am Alan, that's all I am, right? Now, when you can start to feel that connection with your spirit, right, and your divinity, we are all children of God. We are supposed to be created at the image of God, right?
Right. And hey, I know firsthand that there are many more people out there that you can touch and can change their outlook and change their life. And I thank you very much for not only putting up with all my technical issues, and it's amazing we wound up having a fantastic episode and
Of course.
conversation. And if you don't mind sharing like how people can work with you, get a hold of you, find you maybe on social media, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so basically, the best way is to go to my website for several reasons. My website is called themindclearing.com, themindclearing.com, and it's basically you go to contact, and but even before, you've got a ton of information, because doctor in Latin means teacher, right? So it's important to teach, right? So you're going to see some similar information. We talk about that, maybe some more, but so you go to the mind clearing, there's a contact form, you go into contact, you click on it, there's a contact form, and because you have been on that podcast, you have been listening to Mark's podcast, if you mention the podcast, I will give you 20% off of a treatment. So you take a treatment with me, it takes an hour, and whatever are you anxious? Are you depressed? You want to make sure you want to reach a goal. Do you have some negative thought that you had on your life that you want to get rid of? Some emotion that are out of control? Some behavior that you want to correct? No matter what it is, can be in your health, on your prosperity, on your relationship. We can work on that. It can be pain, it can be symptom in your body, it can be anything, because the mind is everything. So it can be anything. And so, because we can talk about things forever, but true knowledge is when you experience things. So like that, you will experience the work, and you will understand what I'm talking about. Everybody feels much better after that, right? So that's number one. Now, if you want to learn it, if you like a lay people and you want to learn it for yourself, to self-transform yourself, like I did, that's why I treated myself. Nobody's doing that thing, right? I created that, right? And so I treated myself, but also you can treat your loved one. So look how empowering it is, right? And again, if you are like, if you want to make a job out of that, of course you can. But if you're already a coach or a health professional, yeah, you can learn that, and you'll be able to go so much deeper for goal and success clearing, for the body clearing. And if you are into relationship, to help people, that really make a huge difference, because you can bring now 90 to 95% of their mind power in the party, right? And so what I want to tell people also, it's like, first of all, it's not your fault, right? So it's not your fault that you had limiting belief, right? But also now, since you got that knowledge, it's your responsibility to do something about it, because you are not responsible to acquire that. We all have them, right? But now it's your responsibility, to if you really want to make a difference in your life and change. I mean, it's like so close, like just at that reach, and so much faster at all the things. Remember, when we're talking about limiting belief, it's not about preventing you to reach a goal or be successful. It's also the pain we carry. It's the emotional, mental pain, but also the pain that you can feel in your body, your symptom, you're creating inflammation. So if you've got chronic disease or long-term pain and stress or things that are unresolved, and you think that you have been everywhere and tried everything with no success, there's hope for you. There's hope for you. And you know what? The wonderful things about it, it's like you're going to use your own ability to heal yourself, because we're going to give you the technology to do that. And I'm just here to guide you. And it's very private. Your negative picture is your negative picture. It's not my business. Right? That's what I wanted to say.
Dr. Salas, I feel like we could talk for another hour or
I
two
know.
easily, but we're
Yes.
going to try to keep this a little bit under an hour. Thank you very much for your time, your patience with everything, and look at how awesome we are. We transitioned and we made this all work, and I guess that's what happens when we don't let limiting beliefs get in our way, I guess. And yeah, so thank you for being here. I had blast. Again, this is Dr. Salas. He is the mind clearing doctor. I am your host of Mark My Words. I'm Mark Schmidt. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And I will see you soon with a new episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to go on a journey with me into entrepreneurship and life on Mark My Words. If you would like to learn more about me and the show, you can find me on LinkedIn at Mark Schmidt or connect with me on Instagram at Nimrod79. Video episodes of Mark My Words, as well as other content, can also be found on the Mark My Words YouTube page. Entrepreneurship can be quite the roller coaster ride. It can be a bit isolating and intimidating, but it doesn't have to be that way. Let's meet here next time at the crossroads on another episode of Mark My Words.